delighted to have today Will Bravin as our guest expert on Google Ad Grants for Charities. So Will, we're up and running, ready to go. It's over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the introduction. It is fantastic to be speaking to you guys today about Google Ad Grants. Yeah, my name's Will, and let's get cracking. So we're going to run through today us as an agency, so we're Climbing Trees, what a Google Ad Grant is, how to get started, how to be eligible and stay eligible, launching your first campaign, how to track your results, best practices and some top tips, and then we'll share a few resources for you guys, and then we'll run through any questions at the end. So a little bit about me. I've been with Climbing Trees for 2 years, specializing in paid advertising side of things, and my background's in SEO and content writing. I absolutely love working for Climbing Trees, so we share a lot of values, ethics, and passion for the environment. And amongst the team here, I lead on our ad grant management for our non-profit clients. So if we start from the top, what are Google Ad Grants? Google Ad Grants, they help nonprofits share their causes with the world. So the Google Ads Grants program, it's aimed to help you boost your profile to a global audience. So it's a grant of up to $10,000 each month to use on Google search ads. The ads work on a bidding system for keywords that people are using while they're searching on Google search. The grants are only eligible for registered nonprofit charitable organizations. And I think that they're a fantastic way for charities to reach an audience at sort of low or little cost and just the kind of time of setting up. Fantastic way to compete with bigger guys, profit-making companies. So just to take a step back a little bit, so Google search ads themselves, you're probably all familiar with them. So you've got the examples on the right there. Whenever you're searching something in Google, the top 3 or 4 listings there will tend to be ads, and you can see that because they've got the little word ad in the top left-hand corner. So these adverts are activated by the keywords that you're typing into the search engine. And they work on an auction-based model. What this means is that based on various factors, including the bid that you're telling Google you're willing to pay, as well as some things about your kind of how high quality your ad is, you'll be ranked in order, and then that simply decides which ads show at the top and which ads don't show at all. So ads in general, PPC, they work closely with conversions. So we'll use conversions, which are meaningful actions that someone might take on your website. And by tracking those, we can take someone from that beginning step of typing in that first search term all the way through to visiting your website and taking a meaningful action like making a donation or joining a newsletter, or it might just be downloading some resources or watching a video or something like that. So by tracking these conversions through Google Analytics, we are able to feed that information back into the Google Ads account, and then we can see which campaigns are performing well, which keywords are performing well, or which ones aren't performing so well, or maybe are driving visitors to your website who then sort of are or aren't taking action once they get to the other end. So Google Ads, I love Google Ads because I have a short attention span. So you get quick, immediate ability to kind of make changes in the account. You can set up an ad one day and you'll have people viewing the ad the very next day. If something's not working, you can switch it off and it's just immediately off. So you've got that complete control there with those instant changes. You're also, for search ads in particular, you're only paying for traffic, so not just eyeballs. So in terms of that $10,000 of media spend, you'll only be using that when someone actually clicks on an ad, as opposed to just seeing the ad. And then it's great for being able to make real-time optimization across various factors within the account. You can see what's working and what isn't, and make tweaks, and over time improve the performance of the account. So some of the benefits of having a Google Ad Grant account specifically: you can raise awareness for your cause. So your ads can show up when people are typing in keywords that are relevant to your nonprofit. This will then drive website views, activity on your website, which is great for pushing for more fundraising, or if you're recruiting, looking for volunteers, trying to share information hubs. You're getting more eyeballs on the page. And then by combining your ad grants with Google Analytics, you can track the marketing efforts and understand your marketing performance, not just from the Google Ad Grants account, but from anywhere that people might be visiting your website from, to see what's driving that meaningful traffic for you, or what platforms you might be thinking you're putting lots of time and effort into, say Facebook, and you might be getting less traffic than you thought, and perhaps you need to switch up how you're doing that platform. And then if you're an organization that offers services or help for people, then it's a great way to reach those people that are searching for help. So that was a bit about the kind of concepts behind it. Your first steps for getting started. So the first thing to do is check that you're eligible. So there's a number of fairly simple things here. So you must be a registered charity. Your website must be secure with HTTPS. Most of them are nowadays. If you're not sure, then if you click into your URL at the top, and you can see in the very left-hand side of that that website link, if it says HTTPS, then you're secure. If it's missing that S and it just says HTTP, then you might need to talk to your web devs to update the site. Your website must comply with all of the ad grants policies, and I'll touch on some of those a bit further on. Your website must reflect your mission. So just because you're running a charity, you can't use the grant money for a little side gig that you've got going on. It needs to be a website that reflects what you do. That can include a shop on the website, so you can have a charity shop selling things, but that ideally shouldn't be the main focus of the website. And then lastly, it's enrolling your organization in Google for Nonprofits. And the way you do that, after confirming that you meet those requirements, is if you just visit the Google for Nonprofits website, you've filled in a few details, and within probably just a few days, you'll get back an activation, hopefully. And this gives you access to Google for Nonprofits. Google Nonprofits allows you access to a hub of services that Google offers, one of which is Google Ad Grants, but you also have access to Google Workspace for Nonprofits, which is a kind of business suite of tools, the YouTube Nonprofit program, as well as Google Earth and Maps. But the main thing is this is a vital first step for getting access to a Google Ad Grants. Once you have your nonprofits account, Google recognizes you as a nonprofit, and then you're able to open that Google Ad Grants account. So some guidelines for staying eligible within the account. So there's kind of a host of rules that you have to follow according to in order to specifically work within an ad grants account, which differ from if you have a paid account where within reason Google doesn't mind too much what you do. So within the ad grants account, you have a selection of rules. So to start with, you're only allowed to use text-based ads. You aren't allowed to use single word keywords, with a few exceptions of if your brand name is a single keyword, then you can use that. And there are also a limited selection of medical terms that you're able to use also. No overly generic keywords are permitted. This is a bit common sense, but ultimately, if the keyword you're trying to targeting is much too broad for your organization, then that kind of counts as overly generic. So what might be overly generic is just the keyword charity. If you're an environmental charity, then environmental charity as a keyword would be perfect. But just charity, it would be overly generic. I wouldn't worry too much about this. Google aren't going to sort of suspend your account overnight if you've got a few kind of close to the line generic keywords. Keywords must have a quality score of 3 or above to run. I'll go into a little bit more about what quality score is and what comprises it. But again, it's all about making sure your ads are relevant to the searcher. You must maintain a monthly 5% click-through rate to avoid account deactivation. You will receive warnings for this before they deactivate your account. But essentially what that means is that if 100 people view your ad, at least 5 people need to click through on average. And so again, it's about ensuring that you're picking relevant keywords and writing ad copy that is relevant to the user. Conversion tracking must be set up with at least one a month being recorded. This is a little bit more technical, but there's some tips later on in this presentation about where to go if you're struggling to achieve that one conversion a month. In order to bid over $2, you must be using a conversion-based bid strategy. So by default, your account is limited to that bid of $2, but you're able to be much more competitive if you're using those conversion-based bid strategies, which really Google says using those conversion-based bid strategies is a requirement of the account. So it's highly, highly recommended to do so. So to delve a little bit more into what quality score is. So the reason that quality score is important is if I touch a little bit on that mechanism of how the auction works. You've got your bid just like at a normal auction where you're bidding based on how much you want to pay for that keyword. And if you're using an automated bid strategy, then Google will be doing that bidding for you based on trying to achieve the best performance for those keywords. But alongside that monetary bid, you've also got this quality score factor, and this acts as like a multiplier for your bid. And so the higher your quality score, the lower that bid needs to be for you to compete in the auction, and the more traffic, the more results, and the better performance you'll see. So if you have lower quality scores, then you'll have to bid significantly higher for the same keyword than a competitor that might have a higher quality score ad. So there are kind of 3 major components of that quality score. You have the ad relevancy, you've got the landing page quality, and you've got the expected click-through rate. Expected click-through rate, there's not that much we can do about that. It's not something you have super direct control over, and it's kind of impacted by the account as a whole and your ad relevancy and landing page quality as a whole. So the 2 that are the most important are the ad relevancy and the landing page quality. So your landing page quality is made up of various factors like how quickly your page loads, as well as how relevant that landing page is to the keyword that you're targeting. So it's all about making sure that you're directing users to the right landing page on your website, or perhaps if you're looking to target certain keywords and you don't have an overly suitable landing page, it might be a good time to have a discussion about making a new landing page for that new theme, so that you're able to better run ads for those particular keywords. And then the ad relevancy is all about making sure that the ad is speaking to the user based on what they're searching. So just ensuring that if someone's searching for a, I don't know, a volunteering-based query, that your ad copy includes mention of volunteering. So at the moment, there's some requirements for how you need to structure your account, and the requirements that Google gives are that you must have 2 ads per ad group, 2 ad groups per campaign, and then at least 2 site link ad extensions. Now, this is probably going to change. There's a new ad type, and it kind of acts as multiple ads in one. So you can follow this as a guideline, but I wouldn't get too caught up on it. I would say that the better structured your account is, the more you're kind of splitting things thematically, and the more you're making use of those ad extensions, the better it's going to perform anyway. But I would say that must have at least 2 ads per ad group is likely to be updated in the near future to just 1. So when it comes to launching your first campaign, there's a kind of basic process that we'd suggest for creating that campaign. So the first thing we'll do is website research. So it's taking a look at what you have on the website, what landing page you have available, and which page you want to direct the traffic to. Once you've got in mind an idea of which page or pages that you want to be directing users to, you can then jump into Google Keyword Planner. There's a link in the resources section for that. Keyword Planner allows you to research the keywords that users are searching and see actually what the search volume for those terms is. So you can see on a monthly basis how many people actually type those keywords into Google. Once you've got your list from Keyword Planner, it's a case of refining those down to those that are actually relevant to the landing pages that you have available. And then we'll split those keywords out firstly by theme and then by nuance. And that theme and nuance will represent your campaign and then your ad group. So you'd have typically a different campaign for a different theme. So you might have a volunteering campaign, a donations campaign, a resources campaign, and then split by nuance. So it might be that you have people looking for part-time volunteering and full-time volunteering, and that would both be in the volunteering campaign, but segmented. Your match type will, as an ad grants account looking to initially build volume, you'll likely be working with what's called broad match type. So I would recommend starting with broad match type, which just allows Google to take the keyword that you're giving it and infer some additional keywords that might be suitable. And then your last step is to write the ad copy. So you're writing out headlines and descriptions, which are then used as your ads within the campaign, and that's your campaign build. So this slide here just gives you an example of what that Google Keyword Planner looks like. So you can see in the top there, the user has typed in the word boots, and then towards the bottom you can see the keywords, the volume for not just boots, but also keyword ideas for Chelsea boots, women's boots, thigh-high boots, work boots, and cowboy boots. And and you can see that Google has generated 1,737 keyword ideas just for that one word boots. So by this process of typing in keywords and then extracting them from that list below, you can build a nice list of relevant keywords that have good search volume, that are relevant to your nonprofit. You also get a nice graph showing the trend over the monthly trend over time. So you can see that for a search of boots, that's spiking at this kind of November, just as we're getting into winter and starting to see more puddles. So they can be really interesting to just kind of see what people are doing there. And then there's a slide here that just shows you the overview of the Google Ads interface. It's quite busy. It can feel quite overwhelming when you first jump in it. The main thing I say is that you don't need to be super familiar with every single menu item and what everything does. You can kind of get stuck in and then learn the rest of it along the way. So you've got your overview chart right at the top in the middle there that shows your performance over time. And then the menu on the left just allows you to navigate around your campaigns or ad groups. And then there's various kind of charts and graphs that Google gives you down the bottom, which can give you some interesting insights. But there's certainly, you don't need to feel overly familiar with everything to get started. So I think an interesting thing to remember here is that paid and grant ads don't compete in the same auction. So that grants budget will only be eligible when there is leftover ad inventory. And so if you are up against paying advertisers, then they will outrank you, even if your bid in the grants account is higher than their bid in their paid account. So what you'll find there is that your ads will perform much better in a grants account when you're not bidding on terms with commercial intent. So you'll be able to better achieve volume by using keywords that have broader, more informational intent, people searching questions and that sort of thing. Yeah, it's always worthwhile to remember. That also applies if you yourself have a paid and a grants ad account. They won't compete with each other, so you can actually have the exact same campaigns in both, and you won't be bidding up. So once your paid budget runs out for the day, your grants account will still run. So some quick can and can'ts for the grants account. So as well as normal text ads, you can run dynamic search ads, which are text ads that Google gives you a helping hand in putting together the ad copy, and it's a more automated ad type that can help you if you don't have a lot of time. You can use all the extensions that a normal account can, all match types, and maximize conversion bidding is the one that we'd highly recommend that you use. What you can't use is search partners. So these are websites that are not Google search, but partner websites that Google advertises on. You can't use display ads, shopping ads, or video campaigns. So some kind of best practices of how to do this. So we touched on this a bit earlier. So in terms of structuring your account, at the top level, you've got campaigns, and then below that, you've got ad groups. And then within each of those ad groups, you will have keywords and ads. And so campaigns are for your big picture themes. So an example here in that box on the left is if you're an organization that gives free books to children, you wouldn't just run one campaign books. You would segment them out by theme. So you may have books for babies, books for teens, and then you might also have a campaign for volunteering and one for donations. then within those campaigns, you'd be splitting out by nuance. So if you look on the right-hand side, you can see we've kind of split out that volunteer campaign into some different search intents that people might have. And so volunteering with babies or kids, volunteering for literacy, and these all were examples of different ad groups within the account. And then each ad group would have the keywords and an ad that are very relevant to that ad group. So we were within the volunteer with babies ad group, we'd have keywords specific to volunteering with babies, and the ad copy can really speak to people that are looking to volunteer with babies. And likewise, if we've got the ad group of volunteering to teach kids to read, then we wouldn't include any keywords to do with babies, and we wouldn't mention babies in the ad copy, so that we can really speak to the people that are searching and provide them a really relevant experience. There's some advice for creating effective ads. So the ad type that you'll probably be working with most is called a responsive search ad. So within an ad group, you would typically just have one responsive search ad, and you will provide multiple headlines and descriptions, and these assets will, the algorithm will start to learn which of these headlines and descriptions works best, and it will prioritize those. So we'd recommend using short, non-repetitive sentences, avoid uncommon acronyms and abbreviations, try to use language that people understand, and then identify the USPs, or the kind of unique aspects of your organizational service, because when you're shown on Google search, you're going to be amongst your competitors. So what makes you stand out? And make sure that really comes across. And then ad extensions. So there's a host of ad extensions. These allow your ad to be more visible, and it will improve that click-through rate, and it will give you a better chance of being clicked on, standing out amongst the competition. So in that example picture there, you can see that the brook.org have used an image ad extension, and for me they stand out over and above the ad that actually has kind of come above them in the auction, and so just by using an ad extension there, they're really improving their chances of performing well. And then this all comes back to that conversion tracking, so tracking the actions that people take after they click on your ads. So you may want to start this process offline, and just write down in a notepad all of the things that someone could do on your website that you would consider valuable or meaningful, whether that is something as obvious as kind of making a donation, or whether it might be doing something like browsing resource pages, or watching a video. So tracking all of these is really important. This is kind of the one part of the process which you may need to speak to a developer about. Sometimes it will involve something a bit more tricky, although there are some kind of ways around that, which I'll discuss in a moment. So automatically setting your bids. So there are a number of bid strategies that you can use. There's manual bid strategies where for each keyword you're picking and choosing how much you want to bid for those keywords. We'd really recommend just going with maximize conversions as a bidding strategy. It's the one that Google recommends for an ad grants account. And what this does is it puts that whole bidding process in the hands of Google. You're telling Google that you want it to take the budget you're giving it and maximize the number of conversions or meaningful actions that are being generated as a result of that budget. that's kind of the easiest thing to do as well. So earlier I spoke about something that you can do when you are perhaps struggling to get that number of conversions, and there's something called SMART goals. You'll find SMART goals in your Google Analytics, and it's just a case of switching them on, and SMART goals will examine signals from your website, and it will basically just pick out, using its machine learning, these are the people that we think are the best. That often is based on the amount of time they spent on the website or the number of pages that they visited. But it's kind of an easy way, if you're struggling to pull that, generate enough conversion data to send back into the Google Ads account, just to say, well, let's send Google Ads something. We can demonstrate that we have this subset of users that are engaging with the site significantly more. So you're giving Google a signal to, yeah, let's target people like this. Let's bid higher for people like this. So now some advice for maintaining that click-through rate over 5%, which is one of those requirements of the ad grants account. So just as a reminder, that click-through rate means that if 100 people view one of your ads, at least 5 would need to click through for you to have a click-through rate of over 5%. So the kind of first and easiest thing to do is to look for any keywords that you've got in your account that have a high number of impressions, so a high number of people that are seeing the ad, and a low click-through rate. So it might be that the click-through rate is as low as 1 or 2%. By pausing those, it will push your account average up. And you know, because that click-through rate is so low, that those keywords weren't that relevant in the first place. And then it's just having some common sense. So thinking about the intent behind your keywords to determine the relevancy. So just thinking about whether if someone was typing in the keyword that you're targeting, would they be happy with the page that you're giving them? Do you answer their question? Ensuring that the keywords are included in the headline of your ads is a great way to not only improve that quality score, but we actually find that it just improves click-through rate in general. If someone types a particular phrase as their keyword, if your ad stands out as being the only ad there that has that exact phrase in, then a user is much more likely to click on your ad. Make liberal use of ad extensions. These they don't cost any more, and they just allow you to expand your ad, take up more real estate on the page, include images, sometimes you can have four extra links below your ad. So whereas your competitors might have 1 ad and 2 lines of text, yours might have 5 links, an image, a phone number, and they'll just pop and they'll stand out, and you're much likely to see a higher click-through rate. And then an additional way that you can improve your click-through rate is if you set up a brand campaign that targets keywords, that your brand terms, your charity name, and that sort of thing, because what you'll find is that the click-through rate is really high because those people are looking for you anyway. And so if you have spare media spend in that grant account, you may as well create ads so that you're funneling people through. The click-through rate, can typically be really high for those ads, so it can pull the average of your account. So just to talk a little bit about us. So we're Climbing Trees. We are a digital marketing agency, and we have years of experience launching and growing Google Ad Grants account. We work with nationally, internationally, and we help our charitable partners to gain brand exposure, to increase their donations, to bring awareness to causes, encourage fundraising, growing audiences for them, and ultimately inspiring action. So we've worked with Greenpeace, for example. They came to us to help them make better utilization of their ad grants account, and we helped them to expand the account, use more of that grant money each month, and kind of drive forward more clicks at a lower cost, and translate those clicks into meaningful actions. And we kind of really grew their account, and that was a great partnership. And then we worked with the Sumatran Orangutan Society also, and I think they came to us. They really understood the benefits of the Google Ads grants account, but I'm sure some of you will kind of have this struggle. They just did not have the resource to set it up and manage it in-house, and so we helped them kind of expand grow their account globally, and the results really speak for themselves. We've kind of helped them achieve over 2,000 donations as a direct result from that paid activity. The massive growth in clicks and meaningful actions year on year. So it's fantastic, and yeah, love those orangutans. So these will all come over to you. Some great resources here. Feel free to kind of just explore them. The latest PPC news in the top right, you've got some blogs. The second one down is Google's official blog, where they'll post any updates. On the bottom right, I've just included a few campaign tools. At the very bottom of that list, you've got the keyword planner that we spoke about, and then that one link above that is the ads editor. You've also got that trends.google.co.uk. Really recommend visiting that. Really exciting. You can put in a topic that you're interested in, and Google kind of tell you if there's any really rising topics that are being searched about more than they were, so you can really catch upcoming trends within your sector or vertical. So yeah, have a click through. You've got a glossary here for all those boring jargon acronyms. I hope I've kind of explained them as we've gone through, but if there's any that you're confused about, then hopefully this glossary will kind of help you out. And then, so if this is your first Lunch and Learn with us, then it's actually our last one in our series. The others are all recorded, and you can access them on our website. And then it would be fantastic to hear any questions you might have. Thanks for listening.
Great job, great job, Will. Thank you ever so much. Really interesting content there. I know I've learned a few things myself, so thank you. In terms of questions, we'll turn our attention now to Q&A. If you've got any particular questions you'd like Will to try and tackle, feel free to submit those through the question box. We'll start out with the $10,000 budget you talked about. What do you typically see sort of the biggest reasons that people don't manage to actually spend that allocation that they get?
Yeah, so this is it's a really kind of common challenge that we'll find charities have, and often part of the reason that they'll come to us is they'll have an account, they'll set it up, and it might be spending $800 a month, and they know that there's more that they can be doing. And I'd say it's just a case of kind of growing the campaigns in your account. So expanding the number of keywords that you're targeting. If you're using broad match there already, then that's great. If not, then switch your keywords to broad match, because it will allow Google to target keywords that are similar, but not exactly matching the keywords that you've got in your account. But the main thing is just expand, and it may mean that you need to expand to more informational topics. So if you've got a if you have a particular cause, it might be that actually writing some pages that have definitions of some of the topics that you talk about might be a great start, because we find that there's really big search volume for what is X, what is climate change, and that's often something that if you're in that world, in that charity, it's easy to assume that everyone knows that answer, but those sort of informational topics are a great way to reach more people.
And a sort of linked question to that, you talked about the maximum cost per click being $2. Any suggestions on spending the full budget if you've got sort of low volumes coming through from that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that $2 cap is something that will be applied automatically. Even if you try and bid more than that, you won't be able to, unless you're using one of those automated strategies. So it's really just a case of making sure you're using the automated strategies. For those to work, you need to have that conversion tracking enabled. If you don't have the facilities now to kind of enable that with a developer, then at least sending through those SMART goals, which are really easy to set up in Google Analytics, and that will allow you to switch your campaigns to that automated bid strategy, maximize conversions. That should help.
And another question is, are all charities able to apply for the grant money? I'm not sure, maybe this person wasn't there right at the beginning. I think you had in the slide title who could apply and who couldn't.
Yeah, all registered track charities, even like really small charities, tiny charities, you're still eligible. So yeah, absolutely.
And do you think this is still suitable for a small, maybe local charity? Would there be enough search volume to still make it worth pursuing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it's a great way for, if you're a small charity, it's a great way for you to get a kind of national reach that you might struggle to afford on other advertising channels. If you genuinely only have a kind of need to reach people on a really local basis, you can set those geographies that you want to be targeting so that you're not shown outside of that area. You can set that within the account. That they might sort of cap you as to how much of the grant you can use, but if you're a charity in a small town and you only wanting to reach people in that town, then you probably don't need that full $10,000 anyway.
Understood. Is there a way to prevent our charity from appearing in inappropriate searches?
Yeah, there absolutely is. So you've got your keywords that you're choosing to target, and then Google will give you the search term. So it will show you the search terms that people are actually using to type in. So you might be targeting a keyword. Let's say you're targeting a keyword climate charity, and it might be that someone's typed in who is a climate charity, and you're able to see that in the search term report. And so just regularly dipping into that section, it's on the left-hand menu, search terms, you'll be able to see what people are searching for, and if there's anything in there that you don't want to be shown for, you can add that as what's called a negative. So you can exclude the keyword from your account and it will block your ads from showing on that keyword. And you can add that to a specific campaign, but if it's something that you don't want your ads to be showing for, then you can add it right at the account level so that none of your ads will show for that keyword ever again. And you can also do that proactively. So if there are particular terms that you want to avoid from the outset, then you can do that ahead of time.
Brilliant. One last question, and unless anyone submits something last minute, Is it possible to track one-off donations and regular donations that are generated through this Google ad spend or grant?
Yeah, it's so tracking. It depending on the website, tracking can get quite complicated. So that is a question that you may want to have with your developer if you're setting it up on your own, or you know, if you're working with a marketing agency like us, we'll kind of take care of that side of things. Depending on the way the website's set up, you might be able to track the number of donations. You might be able to track the actual value of the donations, so you can really attribute the value that you're getting. There are ways that you can track the kind of lifetime value. You probably won't be able to get in terms of tracking those recurring donations, you probably won't be able to track that kind of lifetime value of that one person who clicked, but you can always pair that up to an average lifetime donation. So in the conversions setting in the ads account, you can kind of use a dynamic value for the actual value of each conversion, but you can also input your own value. And so a really good way to measure try and measure the actual value of donations is if you know the average lifetime donation of a regular donor, then you can just use that average as a figure, so that each time you get a regular donation, you're assuming that it's going to be that average value, and then you can see at the end of a month the value that you've generated through those regular donations.
That's fantastic, Will. Well, on which note, on behalf of everyone on the call, thank you so much for sharing all your insights today. We'll obviously have the recording out to everyone shortly, and if you want to follow up, all the details, contact details are in the recording as well. So thank you very much, Will, and have a great rest of the week, everyone.
Thank you for having me.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.